Almighty God, we, the representatives of the citizens of the City of Brisbane, are assembled here to strive and care for the welfare of our city and all its people. Lord, we ask that you guide us in the decisions we make today. Amen. Amen. Brisbane City Council acknowledges this country and its traditional custodians. We acknowledge and respect the spiritual relationship between traditional custodians and this country, which has inspired language, songs, dances, law and dreaming stories over many thousands of years. We pay our respects to the elders, those who have passed into the dreaming, those here today and those of tomorrow. May we continue to peacefully walk together in gratitude, respect and kindness in caring for this country and one another. Please be seated. I declare the meeting open. Councillors, before we commence today's proceedings, after reflecting on recent meetings, I do remind all councillors of the Code of Conduct, which sets out the responsibilities of councillors to contribute to orderly and respectful debate. Robust debate does not mean you can be rude or show unsuitable meeting conduct. This is the expectation of those who have elected us into this privileged position, and I encourage all councillors to consider the weight of what we are here to do to adopt the 2025-26 annual plan and budget to meet the expectations of our residents.
Point of order.
One moment, Councillor, I'm speaking. I also remind councillors that there is no parliamentary privilege in this place. I would also like to remind councillors that in line with existing procedures for council documents being made available electronically prior to council meetings, the 2025-26 annual plan and budget has been uploaded to the LG Hub.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Point of order, Councillor Johnston.
Madam Chair, I would just like to point out that you too are subject to the Code of Conduct and that your behaviour in chairing these meetings has been biased and unreasonable on many occasions, and it would be incumbent upon you, as well as all councillors, to make sure this meeting is run fairly for all councillors.
Councillor Johnston, I do not uphold your point of order. Are there any apologies? Councillor Dixon.
Madam Chair, I wish to advise that Councillor Atwood will be absent today, and I move that she be granted a leave of absence from the meeting.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Councillor Dixon and seconded by Councillor Givney that Councillor Atwood be granted leave of absence from today's meeting. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. Are there any further apologies? Lord Mayor.
Point of order.
Point of order, Councillor Johnston.
Thank you. Just before we start, where's the sign-in book?
Oh, it's in the front.
They've moved it? Yeah, at the front. Okay, thanks.
Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I rise to present the 2025-26 budget on behalf of Brisbane's 1.3 million residents. It's a budget that's all about striking the right balance between keeping Brisbane moving and keeping costs down. Now, if you're expecting a big spending cash splash, a short-term sugar hit, think again. If you're expecting the kind of irresponsible and inflationary budget that we've seen from other levels of government, think again. Or if you're expecting ever-increasing debt, forcing higher costs onto future generations, think again. It's not that kind of budget. We know it's not council's money, it's residents' money we're talking about today. It's not our money, it's your money. I've told you what this budget isn't, but let's talk about what it is about. It's a budget that's about the 3 R's of local government. But on top of that, it's this year about a 4th R as well, one that no council in Australia has ever been able to deliver before. And that R is rapid transit. Roads, rates, rubbish and rapid transit. Of course, I'm referring to the rollout of our game-changing Brisbane Metro bus rapid transit system. So it's a budget that's about better roads and transport, It's about keeping rates down and reducing waste to landfill, and it's about our game-changing Brisbane Metro rapid transit system. Now, we made some very clear commitments to the people of Brisbane.
Apologies, point of order, Madam Chair.
Point of order,
Could I seek a
Councillor
ruling on displays by non-speakers in the council chamber of the five display item?
Councillor Wines, I'm just checking that at the moment. But in the meantime, I do advise that the public gallery not to display or disrupt the meeting. So I'll just ask the Lord Mayor to wait one moment while the people in the public gallery vacate the public gallery. Can I ask the security in the public gallery to please take care of that? Councillors, I explained at the beginning of this meeting
Point of order.
about why that I'm speaking, Councillor Johnson, so you need to wait.
This is a sham.
Yeah, I think so.
This is a sham.
You just ejected the public and they've done nothing
Sham.
That took 7 minutes for you to
Councillor
breach your
Johnston, I
obligation under the
don't
Code
need
of Conduct.
your advice
Those
or your
residents
debate,
did nothing
and
wrong.
I caution you. And while we are waiting, I will remind all members of the public gallery that under the conditions of entry, members of the public gallery are not permitted to interrupt proceedings of council, take photos or record the meeting, express dissent or disapproval, or display banners or placards. It is very clear as you entered the public gallery on what the conditions are. Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I was saying, we made some very clear commitments to the people of Brisbane at the recent election last year. We promised we would keep investing in the projects that keep Brisbane moving. We promised we would relieve the upward pressure on rates by reducing spending and keeping the budget balanced. We promised to create more to see and do as we make our lifestyle even better. And we promised to create safer suburbs for everyone. And today I present a budget that delivers real and tangible progress on all of those commitments. This is a budget that builds on our commitment to keep Brisbane moving. With new investment in critical road projects like Beams Road, trialling new AI technology to make our existing roads and intersections work better. More than $90 million will be spent on smoother and safer roads across Brisbane. And we'll see the biggest boost to bus services in more than a decade, together with the Brisbane Metro bus rapid transit services starting on the 30th of June. We're partnering with the federal government to plan the next stages of Brisbane Metro as well. And this is a budget that also continues to make Brisbane's lifestyle even better, with bold plans to protect and enhance Mount Cootha, a big boost in support for festivals and events, a citywide rollout of green bins to every house that wants one, and more CCTV cameras to make sure residents can feel safe in their communities. It's a budget that also delivers and exceeds on our commitment of investing at least 80% of all council investment in the suburbs rather than the city. And this year we'll see 85% of all investment going to the suburbs. Right. But most important right now, it's a budget that delivers the cheapest residential rates in South East Queensland. Our team has a strong track record of delivering game-changing projects that have helped transform Brisbane into Australia's hottest destination. It's a place where more people want to live. It's a place where more people want to visit. It's a place that's the proud home of the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. A place that keeps getting better, We've delivered transformational tunnels and road projects that are vital for keeping our growing city moving. We've delivered the state-of-the-art Brisbane Metro, a bus rapid transit project that other levels of government are now eyeing off as a sensible and cost-effective solution to public transport. We've delivered new destination parks like Bradbury Park and Hanlon Park, which make living in our suburbs even better. This budget continues planning for the next chapter of Brisbane's transformation as well. Plans that will help create a city that is better connected, a city with better services, and a city with more destinations so that residents and visitors have more to see and do. It's a budget that plans for the expansion of Brisbane Metro so that more people get access to turn up and go services. And it plans to protect and enhance Mount Cootha so that more people in the future can enjoy Brisbane's premier natural playground. It plans for the revitalisation of our beautiful bayside areas, including Wynnum. However, importantly, it strikes the right balance between planning, delivering and keeping costs down. Now, Madam Chair, the latest growth figures show the national economy is barely keeping its head above the water. Growth in the March quarter on a nationwide basis was just 0.2%. And as a result, and this is as a result of things such as interest rate increases and also natural disasters as well. Households across Brisbane have welcomed the interest rate cuts that have come so far, and some people think that the Reserve Bank's decisions in recent times are a sign that it believes inflation is under control. Yet the RBA, in its recent update, used words like uncertainty, unprecedented and unpredictable 134 times in just one single update. And so it's far too early to declare the inflation crisis over. Now, while households have welcomed interest rate cuts with open arms, their day-to-day costs remain very high. High power bills, high grocery bills, high petrol bills. And councils like ours have faced similar challenges with our own costs in recent years. The past few years have seen the price of many of the basic resources and materials that council needs skyrocket. And this includes a 40.6% increase in concrete, cement and sand, an 18.4% increase in building construction costs, and an 18.7% increase in road and bridge construction costs. Now, these are just a few of the many costs that have placed enormous pressure on council's day-to-day activities, not just our council, but every council. Meanwhile, the support that councils like ours traditionally receive from other levels of government is shrinking. Federal revenue has grown by 83% over the past decade, while assistance for councils has increased by only 13%. That's not even keeping pace with inflation. Since 1996, total financial assistance grants provided to councils by the federal government have plummeted from 1% of total tax revenue to just around 0.5% now. Now, meanwhile, new and inventive ways are being dreamt up by Canberra and by the former Labor government in George Street to siphon taxes out of the pockets of Brisbane residents and into other parts of the country. For example, the 2023 Federal Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Project, Stage 4B, deliberately excluded Brisbane from a share of $250 million. And we didn't receive a single cent from the first round of the $350 million Thriving Suburbs program. Now, some of this failure comes down to the fact that until recently, Brisbane was represented by 3 Greens federal MPs. They didn't advocate for any road funding. They didn't advocate for any projects to unlock housing supply, and they didn't advocate for any support for community clubs either. In fact, they did the opposite. They opposed critical road upgrades like the Moggle Road corridor upgrade, and they've continued to oppose virtually every single new housing development that they can come across, all in the midst of a housing crisis. This short-lived experiment with the extreme Greens political party has been a dismal failure for the community. And what that means now is that the newly elected Labor MPs in Brisbane have a big task ahead of them. And that task is to make sure that Brisbane residents get their fair share. They need to remember that they are not the Albanese government's representatives in Brisbane, they are the Brisbane representatives in the Albanese government. That's right. In reality, federal governments don't really build infrastructure, and they don't build homes either. It's state governments, local governments and the private sector that actually build things and get things done. The federal government collects most of the money. 81 cents out of every tax dollar paid goes to the federal government, but they can only deliver results if that funding flows to other levels of government. While our share of the revenue pool is shrinking, councils are increasingly being lumped with the responsibilities of other levels of government too. The LGAQ estimated there's been a 378% increase in cost shifting by other levels of government onto councils. It's a little wonder that Federal Parliament's interim report into local government sustainability found the role of councils, and I quote, has expanded exponentially beyond rates, roads and rubbish, yet, and I quote, local government, financial sustainability and funding frameworks were being impacted by evolving infrastructure requirements, service delivery obligations and cost shifting. Now, we can only hope the federal government listens when the final report is released. And Madam Chair, I'm enormously proud of how this council has performed during Tropical Cyclone Alfred. The challenges faced by residents during this event were as extreme as they were unique. Yet as a community, we worked together and our council was there for residents every step of the way. Before the event, council distributed a staggering 527,400 sandbags and issued hundreds of alerts to thousands and thousands of Brisbane residents. And then after the event, we've completed 3,119 tree jobs, thousands of potholes have been filled, we've collected 6,465 tonnes of green waste, picked up curbside flood waste from 890 different locations, distributed food waste bins to 776 sites, repaired 269 sets of traffic signals and cleaned 62 kilometres of bikeways. We've also removed fallen trees, debris from 1,981 parks across the city and suburbs. Now, while council really stepped up, Tropical Cyclone Alfred came at a significant cost. The estimated impact on council is at least $76 million. Now, it's unclear how much of this money will be recovered from other levels of government through natural disaster arrangements. To date, only $3.2 million out of $76 million has been committed to under that disaster management response arrangement. But one thing I can confirm today, absolutely and certainly, is that there will be no cyclone levy for Brisbane residents. Yeah. Other councils have decided to introduce new levies. We have not done that and we will not do that in this budget. The significant events of Cyclone Alfred have also meant that our crews have been taken away from business as usual activities to deal with the cyclone cleanup. Yet their effort was nothing short of extraordinary, and on behalf of everyone, I thank them for their efforts. Highly respected former Queensland Governor and Supreme Court Justice Paul de Jersey, in his review, agreed with this. Mr de Jersey made the very astute observation when he wrote, and I quote, "Speaking to the people in the street after the event, word was that council did a good job." And Madam Chair, these are challenging times for councils across the country. Most councils across Queensland are under financial pressure. And in fact, I'd say it's never been a tougher time to be in local government. But Madam Chair, this is a challenge we are 100% up for. If we followed the script of those opposite, we would simply have kept spending more and more and more. Now, I referred to our election commitments earlier, but there were some other promises made at the election as well. The Green Labor Coalition of Chaos made some promises too. They made $3.5 billion worth of unfunded promises, which would have massively driven up the rates and rents of every Brisbane resident. This would have driven up council spending by 20%, and it's in stark contrast to the fact that we committed to reduce spending by 10%. You do some basic math there, and there's a 30% difference between our plan and the plan of the Labor Green Coalition of Chaos. Now, if residents missed our announcements on our sensible savings, the Coalition of Chaos made sure that everyone did know about this plan. They spent a lot of time and a lot of money telling people. And in the end, I think on our side of the chamber, we should be very grateful to them for that, because they did us a massive favour. They completely misread the mood of Brisbane residents, because at the same time they were opposing every measure to bring down spending and to make sensible savings, people were doing exactly that in their household budgets. People were doing exactly that in their small business budgets. And Labor showed, and the Greens showed just how out of touch they were with the sentiment and mood of the public, who were doing that in their own budgets. And when we sought to do the same thing, they opposed us every step of the way. Now, fast forward to today, there are now several other councils around us who are making sensible savings, including Labor-led councils. They're taking out the red pen and they're telling residents it's critical to reduce spending to keep costs down. And that's the right thing for them to do, just as it was the right thing for us to do. Because we took decisive action in late 2023 and throughout last year, we are now in a much stronger and better financial position to keep rates down. Because we made sensible savings at a time of massive global inflation, we can now offer the cheapest residential rates in our region. Now, our residential rates aren't just a little bit cheaper than other councils. They're a lot cheaper, Madam Chair. They're at least $240 a year cheaper, or up to $563 a year cheaper than other councils. And that's even before many of those councils have released their budgets. I'm happy to update the chamber when those budgets come out. Because of our sensible savings program, the average Brisbane owner-occupier will pay just $1.14 extra, or an increase of 3.87% over the year. So that's just $1.14 per week extra. Under our plan, we'll also work hard to drive down debt by more than 20% from its current level of $3.6 billion to less than $3 billion a few years down the track. We'll also make one of the most generous pensioner rebate schemes in Queensland, if not Australia, even more generous. The rebate will increase again this year, and it means Brisbane pensioners will be able to receive a rates rebate of up to $1,298. This compares to some other council rebates of just $250 in our region. We'll also continue the $60 on-time payment discount, which has delivered $16 million in savings to Brisbane households. Our popular free off-peak travel for seniors, which saved them $3.3 million last year, will continue on Brisbane buses and CityCat ferries. Our rebate for composting equipment will save households more than $500,000 on tumblers, worm farms, dehydrators and in-sink food disposal systems. And of course, $2 summer dips is back again next summer. We will, however, be introducing a new rating category for inner-city apartments, many of which are some of the most expensive homes in the entire state. The new category will begin from the 1st of October and will only apply when a new resident purchases the property. Existing owners will be excluded. Currently, around 90% of all apartments across Brisbane pay the minimum general owner-occupier rates of just $228 a quarter, or if it's an investment property, just $304 a quarter. This means that many multi-million-dollar apartments and penthouses are paying less than $1,000 in general rates. And this is despite living in one of the best parts of the city with access to the best transport, the best infrastructure, the best services. And so to address this imbalance, we'll increase the base rate by $25 a quarter from the 1st of October. Now, once again, this will only apply to newly purchased properties from the 1st of October in the CBD and the city frame. And to be crystal clear, existing apartment owners will not be impacted by this change. Now, for anyone that thinks that's a bit steep, I can confirm that even with this new rate category, we still will offer our apartment owners the cheapest minimum rates in South East Queensland. An apartment in Brisbane on the minimum will pay significantly less than an apartment in Logan on the minimum. Madam Chair, about a year ago, I wrote to the Federal Infrastructure Minister, Catherine King, seeking funding for a business case for a long-term restoration project for the Story Bridge. Now, the bridge is 85 years old and it was only ever built to last 100 years. Now, around the time of the bridge's 80th birthday, so 20 years out from its centenary, we started planning for a long-term restoration so that it could last another 100 years or more. And since I've been the Lord Mayor, we've invested more than $80 million as part of significant works on the Story Bridge. But as anyone who owns an old Queenslander home knows, you can keep up with all of the maintenance, but eventually a major restoration is required. And that means you'll need to replace the roof, renovate the kitchen and re-stump the house. And the same is with the Story Bridge. Major restoration work is required to give it another 100 years of life. As the Story Bridge Restoration Committee found, Council has been a good steward of the bridge for decades. With the support of the federal government, we're now undertaking a business case to develop a staged restoration project. Much of the bridge's restoration isn't urgent right now. In fact, there's 15 to 20 years life left in the bridge. So we have ample time to undertake this project in stages and build on the work that we've already done. That's the calm and sensible approach that we're known for and we take to every project, and it's in stark contrast to the hysteria and the scaremongering that those opposite were trying to whip up before and for many months. Premier's made it very clear there will be no toll on the Story Bridge. I've made it very clear there will be no toll on the Story Bridge. And in fact, the only level of government who hasn't ruled out a toll on the Story Bridge is the federal government, the federal Albanese government. I'd like them to do the same, and I'd like them to come to the table as they've done with bridges elsewhere in Australia. But before we complete the business case, there's still work to be done on the bridge, and this budget funds additional work on our iconic asset. More than $18 million will be invested into the Story Bridge over the coming 12 months. This includes $6.9 million for manufacturing and installing a replacement deck for the Story Bridge footpaths. We've been monitoring the footpaths closely for years and we've received a range of different advice. The most recent report undertaken following Cyclone Alfred was that the paths would need to be replaced in the next 2 to 5 years. Now, safety must be a priority, so we're undertaking the work right now. We will install replacement deck as quickly as possible over the coming months, and we're advised that it will take 17 weeks to manufacture the decking and then many more weeks after that to install it. But our aim is to get that deck and those footpaths open as quickly as possible. The budget also includes an additional $6.2 million towards further works on the Story Bridge, building on the $80 million we've already invested in recent years. It's part of the 5-year project we began in 2020, which includes ongoing concrete repairs, gantry work and steel work. Of course, there's also the $5 million jointly funded business case that I've previously mentioned. Now, Madam Chair, I'm fond of describing Brisbane as the most Australian place on earth. We have an incredible mix of a vibrant inner city with a world-class entertainment precinct, safe and spacious suburbs, great places to live, and also nature right on our doorsteps with amazing parks, waterways and bushland areas that are easily accessible. We're very proud of this and we've added to this nature and to these attractions consistently over the years. The jewel in the crown of Brisbane's natural attractions is Mount Cootha, a lookout which offers panoramic views of the city and beautiful Moreton Bay, nature walks, bike trails and picnic areas with a quintessential Australian bush backdrop just a stone's throw away from the city. 56 hectares of incredible botanic gardens that feature more than 200,000 plant species from all around the world, and also the Sir Thomas Brisbane Planetarium. There's also the Mount Cootha Quarry just next door, which is an incredible opportunity for transformation in the long term. With Brisbane riding a wave of international popularity as a tourism destination and the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games coming, now is the time to start planning for more to see and do in our city. We have South Bank, we have the CBD, we have Howard Smith Wharves and Fortitude Valley. We have so many great spaces for people to enjoy and explore. But I believe Mount Cootha presents an incredible opportunity to showcase the very best of Brisbane and the very best of Brisbane's environment. That's what we plan to do, and that's exactly why we awarded the planning exercise to Brisbane Sustainability Agency. It was not awarded to the City of Brisbane Investment Corporation. It wasn't awarded to the Economic Development Agency. It was given deliberately to the Brisbane Sustainability Agency. And the Brisbane Sustainability Agency is already leading the transformation of Oxley Creek into an amazing destination for lifestyle and leisure, and also incredible rehabilitation that has occurred all the way along that creek corridor. So Brisbane Sustainability Agency will develop a long-term master plan for Mount Cootha, which will include ways to protect its most precious natural assets and also to create new activities and attractions. Mount Cootha has so much untapped potential as an ecotourism destination. There's also opportunities to enhance the summit. We really have to ask ourselves, when people arrive in 2032 and they go to the circa 1980s Mount Cootha lookout, is that the best we can offer? We can do so much better, and we can offer so much more, a wonderful experience for Brisbane residents and for tourists alike. There's also the opportunity presented by revitalising the planetarium and the tropical dome, and the opportunity presented by the quarry as well, which is a longer-term option. Now, while the Mount Cootha Quarry is a longer-term prospect for our city, Council's old quarry at Pine Mountain is a much more immediate opportunity. In total, the quarry site covers about 30 hectares and is right in the midst of the Whites Hill Reserve. Now, Whites Hill Reserve is known as an amazing environmental and sporting recreation reserve. We've seen a thriving koala population there, which is growing and growing, which is a wonderful thing. And so what we're going to do with the Pine Mountain Quarry is we're going to take the opportunity to rehabilitate it. Now, there's a large section of the old quarry that is no longer operational. There's a council depot that is operational, and so we're going to turn the non-operational quarry into a rehabilitation site. We're going to plant a whole lot of koala trees, and we're going to create some publicly accessible walking tracks for people to enjoy. Councillor Cunningham, Councillor Adams, Councillor Murphy knows that people love enjoying a walk in Whites Hill Reserve, and they love seeing koalas in the trees, and they'll be able to see more trees and more koalas as a result of our plan. I've asked Brisbane Sustainability Agency Chair Nigel Shamier and CEO Tracy Milenowitz to start planning the Pine Mountain Quarry transformation. And Madam Chair, it's no secret that we plan to roll out more green bins citywide. Last year, we announced that we were seeking funding from the Crisafulli government to do this. This came after years of dithering and delays from the former Labor government. Contracts that have already been debated and passed through this chamber show that we have already locked in the supply of green bins. They are actually sitting at our resource recovery centres waiting to be distributed. And in fact, you can see those stockpiles of green bins from outer space. So I've watched with much amusement in recent weeks as those opposite tried to fall over themselves to claim credit for this green bin rollout. They're like the sports spectators who spent the entire match yelling at the TV and then trying to claim credit for the victory. Madam Chair, our council has a proud track record when it comes to rolling out green bins. In recent years, we cut the cost to less than $1 a week, which helped increase the uptake significantly. There are now 170,000 green bins out there in Brisbane, which is around half of eligible homes. We want to make sure 100% of eligible homes have a green bin going forward. We're now going to roll out green bins to every eligible house. That also means that renters who in the past had to get permission from the landlord to have a green bin now will get one automatically. Now, residents who for some reason don't need a green bin service, for example, they have another arrangement in place, or residents that actually don't have a yard and no green waste being generated can opt out of this system. But I can confirm we will not be cutting the red bin weekly collection service to make this new service possible. And that's what those opposite proposed during last year's council election. And even yesterday in council, the Leader of the Opposition was talking about his passion for smaller red bins. So there will be no lengths that they'll go to reduce red bin services, but we have an opposite approach. We're increasing the service offering, not reducing the service offering. For the 170,000 households that already have a green bin, there will be no extra cost. For the remaining households, the annual waste charge will increase by $49.52, with the majority of this, or $33, being attributed directly to the Labor state government's bin tax, otherwise known as the waste levy. If you remove the impact of the state government's bin tax, council's waste charge would only have changed by $4 a quarter. The bin tax was a Trojan horse tax on South East Queensland residents. It was introduced under the guise of stopping interstate waste coming into Queensland, and we were promised there would be no impact on residential households. In reality, nothing could be further from the truth. Residents have been slapped with higher levy charges each year, and the rebate that's provided to councils is reducing each year as well. That's forcing more costs onto households. And so our plan is to run a massive tax avoidance scheme. We want residents to be able to avoid the state government's bin tax. And so by rolling out green bins to every eligible house, we can reduce the tax that Brisbane residents have to pay. Higher costs for councils mean higher costs for households. And so we're going to do everything we can to divert green waste out of the red top bin and into the green waste recycling stream. We've received some state funding to buy new wheelie bins, but not a cent to help us collect or process the green waste. And as the levy costs continue to increase and the rebates council continue to decline, we know the impact will only continue to grow. The green bins will help reduce the amount of that waste levy or bin tax that people have to pay, but it won't stop it entirely. It's projected to increase every single year, and our rebate is projected to reduce every single year from the state government. The solution that those opposite offered to this challenge was to cut the red top bin service and to offer a completely unworkable universal FOGO scheme. There's no capacity in the industry to deliver that scheme right now, and it would have led to rotting piles of green waste piling up all around Brisbane. I certainly welcome the Crisafulli government's review of the Queensland Waste Strategy. We have made a submission to that review, and we're confident that as a result of some changes to that system, there'll be more support for households doing the right thing, increasing their recycling and diverting waste from landfill. Brisbane has an incredible range of parks, playgrounds and dog off-leash areas. We have some of the best coffee and food as well. We have an incredible climate. Bringing all those things together comes together with our coffee carts and food trucks in parks program. This was a promise we made at the last election, and I have to say probably one of the most popular promises that we made. I know that Brisbane residents using our parks always love the opportunity either to grab a coffee, a kombucha, something to eat at a food truck. All of those things will be available under our new program, and we've identified more than 100 locations across Brisbane parks where coffee carts and food trucks will now be allowed. And this is all about supporting small business as well. Many of these are operated by sole traders. It's a small business or it's a family business, and it's a great way of supporting local business as well and making our lifestyle even better. Along with sporting clubs, local festivals and events are really important for bringing Brisbane's community together. From the Acacia Ridge State School Community Christmas Carols to the Wynnum Manly Jazz Festival, Councillor Givney, Brisbane's events showcase our culture and our diversity and our multicultural community. They also provide free and affordable fun for people from all across Brisbane to enjoy. Now, we recognise that many community groups have been doing it tough, and we also recognise the cost of putting on events has increased significantly in recent times. These events are run by volunteers, and some of those events do not know if they'll be able to continue on in the future, given the cost pressures they're under. So today, I'm announcing that all 128 festivals and events supported by our Suburban Multicultural Festivals program will receive a big funding boost of 25%. Yeah. No exceptions, no new applications, just a funding increase for each of them because they deserve it. In the eyes of the world will be on Brisbane in 2032 for the Olympic and Paralympic Games. I know the world will fall in love with this beautiful subtropical city that we call home. While we're not responsible for the Olympic venues, our commitment to the International Olympic Committee is to make Brisbane look even better. Now, we do that every day, but we're going to do even more of it in the lead up to the Games. And so I'm announcing today a 2-year, almost $2 million plan to plant new trees along transport corridors, along the major routes that visitors to Brisbane will be travelling. And we're also going to look at optimising the type of plants planted so that, just maybe, they're flowering in about July or August of 2032, putting on the best display possible to the world when they come to Brisbane. We're able to start this work now because we finally know where the Olympic venues will be. Brisbane already has the best tree canopy cover of any Australian capital city, and if you fly over the likes of Sydney and Melbourne, you'll instantly see the difference. By starting now, we'll give the new trees the best chance to grow and mature before 2032 and make Brisbane look even better for those watching and those visiting. Our interdepartmental working group has already had incredible success at linking homeless people to support and services. I want to give my personal thanks to Premier David Crisafulli and also the Minister for Housing, Sam O'Connor, for their strident support in getting people out of unsafe tent encampments and into secure accommodation. According to the Department of Housing figures, prior to this joint working group being established, when the state government's critical response team, which is part of the Department of Housing, went to visit people experiencing homelessness, only 20% of people engaged with them. That figure has now more than doubled to more than 42%. And we want to see it keep increasing because we want people into secure accommodation and out of the unsafe tent encampments that have turned into dangerous and unsafe places, not only for the people staying there, but also for the general public as well. Now, sadly, the Labor Green Coalition of Chaos has taken a heartless view to homelessness. They're quite happy to see tents in parks as a permanent solution to the housing crisis. We don't see it that way, and we believe that a city that has a heart will get people out of tents and into accommodation. Now, today, I'm announcing a significant investment in addition to what we're already doing. As you know, we've supported the Pathways Out of Homelessness program. It's a new program we introduced that has already invested more than $3 million and has helped more than 6,000 people over the years get support and pathways out of homelessness. We also advocated very strongly, because we care, for the Pinkenbar quarantine facility to be used for crisis accommodation, something that was opposed by Labor and the Greens. Now, while that didn't happen as a result of a federal government decision, we're not stopping working to get a better outcome for people experiencing homelessness. And today, I'm announcing that Council will provide a one-off donation of $500,000 to the Emmanuel City Mission in South Brisbane. This is an amazing service that currently provides a daytime drop-in centre for people experiencing homelessness. They provide a meal, they provide support, they provide the encouragement that is required and the support services that are required, but they don't have the ability to have people overnight. Their plan is to, this year, get an overnight homeless shelter open. They have estimated that getting that shelter open will cost $1.5 million. We have been talking to the state government about jointly funding this, and so we're hoping that our contribution of $500,000 will then lead to further contributions from the state government and the private sector to get this service open as soon as possible. We know that just yesterday, Minister Sam O'Connor announced $600 million in funding to really drive down homelessness and get people out of tents, out of cars, out of parks and into accommodation. And I commend him for that investment, and that is something that we actively support. Fully activating the overnight shelter is an important part or an important missing piece in the jigsaw puzzle to address homelessness in Brisbane. There are currently people that are able to get access to crisis accommodation, and often that is in hotels, but there is a lack of an overnight accommodation shelter in Brisbane, and this will help deliver it. We're very excited about this, we're very passionate about this, and we're looking forward to working with Emmanuel City Mission to make it happen. This year, we'll also invest in a range of important community facilities, because we know how important these places are for our community and for Brisbane residents. We're rolling out our Community Spaces initiative. These spaces in the north, south, east and west of Brisbane will help community clubs safely store their equipment, which is currently often being stored in people's garages or in people's basements under the house, because there's nowhere to store community group equipment. And so by creating purpose-built facilities in all corners of Brisbane, we give these clubs the opportunity to store this kind of equipment so that it doesn't have to be in their homes. We're talking about volunteers here, and we're talking about organisations that don't necessarily have the ability to buy commercial storage. We'll also undertake works in the Valley, in Newmarket, in Runcorn and Parkinson pools. This includes a range of works like the remediation of the Valley's grandstand to include a new baby change amenity block at Runcorn Pool as well. and will commence the design works to improve the Pollara and Ellen Grove district parks, along with finalising the exciting master plan for Wynnum, Manly and Lota foreshores. Pollara is one of the fastest growing parts of our city, and we're not only investing in ensuring these new residents have great sport and recreation opportunities, we're also partnering with the Crisafulli government to ensure investment in drainage in Pollara keeps pace with its growth as well. We'll finalise the design and start delivering a new Brighton foreshore, which is federally funded. We're also delivering upgrades and improvements to the Rocks Riverside Park, New Farm Park, Mount Gravatt Outlook Reserve and the Brisbane Koala Bushlands at Burbank. A major upgrade, Councillor Murphy, will also be planned for the Carindale Recreation Reserve, which is a large destination park, and this is something we committed to at the last election and something where this can be the next Bradbury Park maybe. The Labor opposition has talked a lot about congestion lately. They're trying to make cheap mileage out of a bogus congestion report. The report included areas well outside of Brisbane, but would it surprise you that Labor used it to try and score political points? But this brings us to the question of how we respond to traffic congestion. Well, first of all, what was Labor's policy during last year's election? According to the Labor candidate for Lord Mayor, and I quote, "Congestion is not going to be dealt with by building more roads." So that was a quote from the Labor Lord Mayoral candidate. In the next breath, they announced $1 billion to build more roads. They didn't say how they were going to pay for it. They didn't even say which roads that they would upgrade. No details, no explanation, just we don't believe in building roads, but we're going to spend $1 billion on building roads. And so people in Brisbane could be forgiven for being confused about the Labor Party's approach. And so what do they really believe in? Do they believe in road upgrades or don't they? The reality is they don't. And the reason for that is that they have an identical view to their coalition of chaos partners, the Greens political party. The only road projects that the Greens ever support are road downgrades. They're projects that take away traffic lanes, remove parking, or they're lower speed limits. They're downgrades. And these are the type of things that the Greens and the Labor Party support, and the Labor Party is genuinely and fundamentally conflicted here. They need Labor preferences at the election to win office, and they would need Labor councillors in a coalition to form a majority administration. And so the reality is they'll tell people one thing, that they want to spend $1 billion on roads, but what they really believe is the statement from the Lord Mayoral candidate that they don't believe in upgrading roads. Now, our records show that we believe in both upgrading roads and improving public transport. It's the old El Paso approach. Why not both? We believe in building new and improved roads to make it easier for residents to get around. We recently completed the Moggle Road corridor upgrade, a project which the Greens and the Labor Party opposed. We have a record of building new tunnels, building KSD, a project that once again the Labor Party opposed. And this year we're undertaking the next stage of the Beams Road upgrade, which includes widening the roadway and improving connectivity for pedestrians and cyclists. We're also making a start on several improvements in and around Toowong. We're adding signals to Toohey Road and Esher Street's intersections to improve safety and reduce delays. And after a seriously wet start to the year, with more than a year's worth of rainfall by the start of June, we're increasing our spending on road resurfacing and road repairs to make our roads smoother and safer, with more than $90 million of investment this year. And we'll be undertaking new and improved bikeway connections as well along Preble Street in Wishart through to Rochdale, and also Shaftesbury Avenue in East Brisbane, along with the upgrades to the Stretton State College car park in conjunction with the state government. We live in one of Australia's fastest growing capital cities, with more than 600 people a week moving to Brisbane. While we clearly support investing in new and improved roads, as well as better public transport, we also need to make the most of our existing network. To do that, we need to make the most of new technology that's now available. That's why during the election, our team committed to trialling new AI traffic technology on Brisbane key road corridors. This year's budget includes $4.4 million towards this 4-year project, and smart technology has helped improve traffic flow in other parts of the world where it's been trialled and introduced. Now, we know that Brisbane traffic drops by 5 or 6% during school holidays, but it feels like a lot more than that, doesn't it? It's just 5 or 6% lower traffic. So what that tells us is that a 5 or 6% improvement in traffic flow and efficiency makes a big noticeable difference. And so that demonstrates that using better technology, smarter technology, using AI will also deliver a big potential improvement. We're going to find out, we're going to trial the world's best technology, and we're going to make sure that we give people ways to move around our city quicker and safer. Madam Chair, while we're on the topic, I also want to remind Brisbane residents that those opposite, there's none left, wanted to cancel the Brisbane Metro project. That's right, they wanted to cancel Brisbane Metro, Brisbane's critical new network that takes our city from public transport to mass transit, from public transport to rapid transit. They opposed it. Now, I don't know what their alternative was, but Brisbane Metro in its first stage has already been a raging success. We've had well over 1.5 million people that have ridden the Metro already, and it's not even fully operational. And we're excited about the increase in patronage that will be delivered when we not only have both Metro lines online, but also a brand new bus network. The most important and significant improvement in services and frequency that's been delivered in decades. We've launched the M2 services already, and N1 services linking 8 Mile Plains to the city will be next. They'll start with 5-minute frequencies, but then we'll have the capability to increase to 3-minute frequencies once the Adelaide Street Tunnel opens. As I said yesterday, the Adelaide Street Tunnel, the new bus network, is all about decongesting public transport. Right. It's the Codral for public transport in Brisbane. Decongesting the network, meaning that fewer buses come into the city, but more people have more seats to come into the city on those high-capacity, high-frequency services like Metro. More services to more places more often, and that will deliver an additional 160,000 trips a year. 50-cent fares are great, but we also know that people want frequency and reliability when it comes to public transport, and the new network and Brisbane Metro delivers both. Improve reliability with less congestion on the busway, less congestion on the Victoria Bridge, less congestion on Adelaide Street and the Queen Street bus station, and also higher frequency with incredible frequencies of 5 minutes or less. To support Brisbane Metro and our new bus network, we're investing a record amount of $210 million over the coming 12 months. No council has ever invested more than what we're investing in the coming year in public transport. Not only are we the council that has introduced the game-changing Brisbane Metro and millions of new trips for people, we're also the only council that invests significantly in public transport every year without fail and builds major projects. Without our investment, bus services in Brisbane would be radically reduced and the impact on congestion would be dire. It's clear the Brisbane Metro has captured attention. There are state government plans for similar electric bus rapid transit solutions for the Sunshine Coast, and also it's even been suggested for the Gold Coast as well. But what I'm focused on now is our plan to expand the Brisbane Metro. In our Race to Gold plan, we outlined a blueprint to take Brisbane Metro north to Castledine, south to Springwood, east to Capalaba, and also out to the Brisbane Airport as well. It was a bold and ambitious blueprint, and it's one that took the imagination of the federal Labor government. Now, while our opposition colleagues here might disagree with Metro, their Labor colleagues at the federal level absolutely love it and can't get enough of it and want more of it. And so they're helping us fund the business case to take Metro to more places across Brisbane, and we are grateful for that support. Our budget is a result of some incredibly hard work from a talented team who dedicate their time every single day to making Brisbane better. I want to thank the Deputy Mayor and Finance Chair, Councillor Fiona Cunningham, and members of my civic cabinet, as well as our councillors. I want to thank our new CEO. I can call you new still, at least for this year, Dr. Kerry Freeman, our Divisional Manager, Anne Lenz, Chief Financial Officer, Mark Russell, to Narelle Bellini, Emma McCarthy, Arlette Griffiths-Smith, Jenny Dowd, and Elizabeth West. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. The budget team have been burning the midnight oil. I was actually going to a function at QPAC the other night, quite late, I saw one of our budget team actually leaving work after dark in the office, and I know that's a regular thing. From my office, I also want to thank Stephen, Nathan, Michael, Aaron, Hannah and Ruth. Every budget is challenging, but every budget is also about choices. Our choice is to put Brisbane residents first. Our choice is to strike the right balance between keeping Brisbane moving and keeping costs down. Our choice is to deliver on our promises. Our choice is to focus on the 4 Rs: roads, rates, rubbish and rapid transit. Our choice is to deliver a balanced budget that sets a path to lower debt. Our choice is to plan for a sensible and affordable budget, a budget that keeps Brisbane moving, a budget that ensures Brisbane retains the cheapest rates in South East Queensland, to plan for the next exciting chapter in Brisbane's history as we head towards the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. It continues our ongoing and unwavering commitment to the suburbs, and our choice is about spending only what we can afford. Our choice is to plan and deliver the new parks and playgrounds and precincts that make Brisbane even better. And our choice is to help households with the high cost of living. Our choice is to keep Brisbane moving. Madam Chair, I commend this budget to the chamber. Yeah.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Can you please move a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Madam Chair, I now move that the meeting of Council be adjourned until 9 a.m. on Friday, 20th of June 2025.
Seconded.
It has been moved by the Lord Mayor and seconded by Councillor Dixon that this meeting of Council be adjourned until 9 a.m. on Friday, the 20th of June 2025. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. This meeting now stands adjourned until Friday.